So I've been busy these past couple of days, but there's some stories that I've been meaning to cover that I've seen popping up in the news. Now, for anyone who's been following the channel for a while, then you'll know what today's video is covering, and that would be the Oliver Stevens murder case. Yes, we've been over this case at various different points throughout the year, and of course when it broke back in January. Just as a quick side note though, and this is for some commenters over on my Instagram, when it comes to murder trials or criminal court proceedings in general, they are a long process. I say this because I've seen a few people comment they were a little bit confused about this news that's recently broke, saying that it's old news, but we have to remember different things happen at different points in time, and this can go on for years at a time. By the way, if you don't follow me over on my Instagram, it will be linked down in the description below because I have a new one now. But again, today's update would see that the 3 teens who were convicted in relation to Oliver's murder have been sentenced. For anyone who's unfamiliar with this case, I do have a lot of coverage on my channel, but in a quick recap, a 13-year-old boy by the name of Oliver Stevens was murdered in Bottom Fields in Emma Green, Reading. You see, he'd been set up by a girl and she lured him to the park where he was ambushed by 2 14-year-old boys. There was other people there as well, but it was mainly these 2 14-year-old boys. These 2 14-year-old boys were said to have had issues with Oliver leading up to his murder over him allegedly, quote, snaking them, and from more details that have emerged, it was something to do with Oliver screenshotting a message, I believe, on Snapchat or some other form of social media. The investigation seen that the teens were bragging about Oliver's death and how they attempted to avoid capture, but in the end they were both found guilty on murder charges and perverting the course of justice. The girl who set Oliver up had pleaded guilty to manslaughter charges, which the Crown Prosecution Service was more than happy to go ahead with. Today though, they were all sentenced. The younger boy was handed a minimum 13-year prison sentence. The older boy was handed a 12-year prison sentence, whilst the girl, yes, the girl who set this whole thing up and lured him to the park, was handed a 3-year jail sentence. To make this even worse, believe it or not, she is to be released towards the end of next year. The reasoning for this, the judge says, is because, quote, there's a real chance that she can be rehabilitated. If you cast your minds back to the last video we did covering this, then you'll know that I said the press will more than likely put in an application for reporting restrictions to be overturned to release the identities of the children. Because if you didn't know, the identities of any offenders under the age of 18 in the UK will be hidden from the general public, but in certain cases these can be lifted if an application is put in. A lot of the times this information will be released to the public, but ultimately it's up to the judge to do that, and the judge in this case has denied that the identities of the children are to be released to the public. Remember, and especially now as well, if you are caught putting names with faces or putting names out in general connected to this case, no matter who you are, even if you're just a general member of the public, if you do post this onto social media, you can be prosecuted, so just so you guys are aware of that. In regards to not lifting the court order, the judge said that she felt it was an additional deterrent to name and shame the children, seeing as they're so young and because they're likely to change when they mature, so it should be hidden from the public. But with that being said though, there is a few things to take away from this case. Yes, I agree with the right legal channels and processes taking place, but I just find it so crazy that a girl who set someone up to be killed is going on to be released from custody as of this time next year, and that just blows my mind. What kind of example does this leave to other people in similar situations? Oh, I can set someone up to get ambushed and stabbed to death and I'll be off scot-free in a couple of years. To me personally, she's just as guilty as the boys and should have received a bigger penalty, but at the end of the day, it isn't up to me, and the Crown Prosecution Service were more than happy to take the manslaughter guilty verdict, and of course the judge felt that that sentence fit the crime. But I do want to take this time out just to say rest in peace to Oliver, and I do want to send my condolences over to his family and friends. It's going to be extremely raw for them because they've just been in court again, of course, for the sentencing hearing. But give the video a like for more crime related content like this, and make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't. It's been me, Huncho, and I'll see you in the next one.